Only recently has the general population of Innistrad become aware of the absence of Avacyn in the world. And nobody knows how long that's been the case. Even people within the church, if they have had any information prior, keep quiet, and most of them weren't even aware. The angelic wards and magics that protect civilization have waned. They've started to falter. And people had noticed this for a while, but hadn't put it together. And now it's daunting on these little pockets of light within the world that things are not as bright as they once were. And that was already pretty dim. Of course, though. The Frowning's Wrath Saloon. It's fairly bustling for what it is. Plenty of people, mostly drunk, as you would expect. But still somber. It's not exactly a raucous party. It's just half the people drinking away their sorrows, the rest just trying to relax for the day. Two women, Amrita and Lorelei, sit across from one another at a table. Would you guys be at a booth or center table or at the bar? Actually, where would you guys be?
I feel like we'd be at a booth. That seems private.
Yeah, that seems probably not too much attention, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Out of the way. Out of the congregation of other people. Whatever you have ordered, food, drink, has already been provided. What little conversation there was between you has stalled slightly. And there's a tension in the air in your corner of the room. As you guys can go ahead and describe what you both look like as you stare across from one another.
You go first.
All right. Yeah, Amrita, she is really tall, even as she's like sitting down. Her head's just kind of over the booth and everything, but she has not like a full-on cloak, but little bits and pieces of a cloak that wraps around like this studded leather armor, and it's looks like it's had some wear and a bit of tear and everything. And her eyes, the right side is blue and the left side is brown, and she wears a bandana over like her forehead and everything, and she's just kind of doesn't seem to be much of a talker hardly, but she feels rather uncomfortable at the moment, just kind of just sitting there staring in her glass water thereabouts, kind of moving some of like her black like strain of her hair out of her face.
And sitting across from her is Lorelei, not as tall as Amrita, definitely not. And she is wearing a very long, tattered, dark blue cloak. Demonstration. With the hood of which is pulled very low over her head. Like, her head is pretty much entirely obscured by this. And short, sort of unkempt pieces of, like, jaw-length black hair, like, occasionally, like, tumble down out of the hood. And she wears... Underneath her cloak, it's typical. It's very black. She wears a sort of dress that is mostly tatters at this point, and the sleeves are very long, almost to like her knuckles, and she just kind of tugs at the long sleeves to keep them over her hands, her very, very pale hands, and she is just sort of staring at the table, like fidgeting with her fingers. She can sort of feel the tension.
A pair of you have recently buried a comrade, laid to blessed sleep, a young man named Lars, and the other companions you had traveled with started splintering off into various directions of their own, leaving the city. Not entirely sure if any of the group would stay together. But the two of you have found yourselves not entirely sure where you're going to go, if you're going to remain together. But for the time being, you are.
After a moment of silence, Lorelei kind of slams her hands down on the table. Not very difficult, but enough to just kind of make a point. I think we need to address the horse in the room. Don't you agree?
Rita stops messing with her cup and sets it down. And her eyes kind of dart around and everything. I don't really see any horse in this establishment.
Metaphorically speaking, you know that. Where are you going to go after this?
Go where I was going to originally go. Another city out of here. I think wherever it is you were going to go, it's best that we part ways.
I don't have anywhere to go.
Rita kind of pushes down the maroon top of her hood and everything, and just almost itches right near the headband a little bit. It just lets down. It's you could always try to track down one of the others then. Or try to stay here and make some kind of life for yourself.
Is that your way of saying you don't want me around?
I think it's a good idea. I'm not trying to be rude, my friend, but given everything, Lars, things that followed after it.
Just don't. Okay? Just don't. What's done is done. What's over is over. I don't want to walk away from the only other person that knows my face around here. But if you insist.
I just suggest that. Never mind, forget it. And Amrita just kind of just gets up from the table and kind of just walks away.
As you're getting up, there's another bit of a scuffle in the establishment. You see a larger young man, kind of short, cropped, blonde hair, with a thinner individual, also hooded. Seemed to have been drinking together, but had a little bit of a confrontation. The smaller, thinner man pulls himself away. He's clutching this old leather-bound book, and in his desperation to get away, actually clocks the larger guy in the face, which you see the bigger one actually has a fair amount of restraint, almost half smiling, as everybody kind of pauses, not sure how he's going to react. The thinner man just says, "Just stay out of it," and rushes out of the Frowning's Wrath. Anne passes by your table, easily a head shorter, if not more, than Amrita as she goes to stand, and just asks, "Is that going to be everything for you?" She understands the situation you're in partially, only from what she's heard around town, and wants to remain somewhat respectful.
Fine. You know of any place where I can get a horse, some extra supplies, eventually? I plan to be leaving soon, sometime.
It's a shame. Yeah, I can point toward the stables. But not tonight. It's fairly late.
And perhaps in the morning you could show me.
Yeah. Just... never mind. It's none of my business. She lets you pass.
Lorelei just retreats further into the booth.
As she lets Amrita pass, Anne kind of like goes to say something to Lorelei, but then pulls back, grabs a washcloth from her apron, and moves on to the next table and starts cleaning it down without addressing the situation. Meanwhile, Acrio, you've traveled several days now through the mountainous passes of Stensia from your home with a mission. You've taken the Hofsaddle Pass, which wouldn't have been your first choice, but rumors have been filtering in that the Needle's Eye is plagued with something. Survivors of its attacks didn't really get much of a look at it. It strikes very quickly and always in the dead of night, as is common amongst beasts in Innistrad. Various monstrosities, even demons, have been known to plague the byways. And of course, there's always the vampires. So you've taken the long way around. I need you to roll a retroactive Smith Tools check, please, using your strength.
First roll.
Let's roll! Let's do it!
The first roll of the game.
First roll.
Oh yeah. Uh-oh.
Mm.
That's
Middle
alright.
of the road.
Unlucky for some.
Yeah, so the weapons that you have stocked in a pair of barrels in the back of your cart, being pulled by your 2 mules, they are primarily short swords, few long swords, a small box of arrow tips that have not yet been fletched or made into bolts. With a 13, how does Acrio feel about the quality of his work?
He's got like pieces from ages past hung up, and it's like he finishes it. He's like, yeah, this is nice. And then he looks up, sees the pieces that he's found and hung up as display pieces, and he's like, oh, that's garbage. Tosses it with the rest, and he's got a big pile of pretty average, pretty decent quality swords, but it's like, nope, not good enough, nope, not good enough, and just keeps going, but somebody will find use in them.
They are completely serviceable and functional, not flawed or brittle in any way, but hardly the pristine work that you were going for. They are steel, not ornate, nothing silvered. Unfortunately, I haven't learned how to master that yet, just with experimentation. But you know where these need to go. Cillian, how have you been traveling across the land of Innistrad these past month at least?
Charming all the people I can charm into taking me along, maybe paying a tiny bit, but not ever too much, and asking my friends.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So
it's
mostly hitchhiking.
Mostly hitchhiking, maybe stowing away, just getting as safely and as fast across the land as possible.
Mm-hmm. You've made your way through Kessig, through what was the most dangerous time of the year, the Hunter's Moon, through Kessig. The trip was slower than you would have liked due to a lot of people trying to hunker down for the snowy parts of the year. Now it's a couple weeks into the new moon. Things have settled down. People started moving a little bit more frequently along the passes. And finally, this evening after sun has set behind the clouds, the perpetual clouds of Stinzia, you see on the horizon the walled city, the moat around it, as you know is customary in Stinzia, to have water surrounding much of the city, partially for a bit of protection, whether that's superstition or not. The locals believe it, as well as to water herds and flocks in the areas.
Well, you
There's
were
a-
right, Dragon. It was this way. I'll never talk against you again.
You feel kind of a presence on your shoulder. It's not really warm or cold. It doesn't really feel like anything, but just a touch.
Okay. Start heading over. Keeping my eyes out for anything that might want to kill me.
The merchants making their way back to Lammas are also stopping in Korsava for the night before they head on. So they part ways with you as you reach the bridge across this kind of murky water surrounding the city. There's the vaguest reflection of the haze where you would expect the moon to be behind the clouds coming off of the water, but nothing potent, nothing that glares back at you. It's almost a whispered reminder.
Well, thank you very much for the travel, friends, the company. Been a wild ride. We made it. Survive for another night, yeah?
How often do you think Cillian would have traveled in and around Stinzia? Is he overly familiar with it, or is this one of the few times he's broached the mountain passes?
No, I think he's been through a lot of times. I just don't think I think they would have preferred the other three. So they've been through stunts, yeah, enough times, a few, at least 6.
Sure.
Not enough time to become intimately familiar.
Right. But you would know that the people are not talkative, fairly gruff, and don't reply with as much fervor to your thanks. It's more curt nods and move along to what they're doing.
Sure, he says goodbye anyway. Alright, head into the thing.
You know your contact was likely to be seen around a particular saloon in the area, one of the only ones in this town. Although there are a handful. It's probably the most frequented on the west side of this walled city, the Frowning's Wrath.
I'll walk towards someone. Hi there. Could I take just a second of your time? I'll be out of your hair in a second. Could you point me towards the? It's a bar. Something about a wrath, Frowning's Wrath, something like that.
Older woman with her hood up kind of looks you up and down. She just has like "You're a stranger" written on her face, which is points you in the direction of the west.
Well, thank you very much, and have a good day yourself. And I'll walk off.
And you actually make a perception check for me, real quick.
Sure.
Yeah, no. She mutters something, but it's imperceptible.
Sure. And then I'll, having taken the hint, I'll just wander till I find it.
Mm-hmm. And it's not difficult to find. It is one of the places that's kind of lit up, torches around it. See a number of horses kind of tethered out outside the establishment.
Walk in. arms wide, and excuse me, everyone. Hi there. I'm looking for a Cormac Rollo. He's waiting for us. He's a friend.
As soon as you step in and say this, you are shoulder checked by some individual who's like rushing out. They don't seem drunk. They're in a hurry. Kind of a dark green cloak. Just brushes past you, paying you no mind.
Oh, there. Excuse me. I'm all right.
But as everyone kind of recognizes your request, there's a larger man, probably slightly over 6 feet, but very broad shoulders, short blonde hair, just kind of looks over and raises his hand up.
I'll walk over. Sorry for the loud entrance. I prefer it that way. It takes away all the hustle of having to ask people. How are you, sir?
Well, I've been better, but things are getting a little louder around here. I kind of like it.
I sure have. It took me about 3 weeks of travel in Stangia alone. The roads aren't good this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't know about that. I stick where it's safe. And you can see this individual's got like a basic cotton blue shirt, a bandana around his neck. You can see where under one eye it starts to purple a little bit. Not sure what that's about.
Sure, the other one looked worse, wasn't he?
Sometimes. Not tonight.
Okay. Well, you're supposed to be the person to talk to. Am I right about that?
Just kind of does this. Oh, Mel, we're going to use the side room. If you don't mind, we'll private.
For sure. Lead the way there, sir.
And he will stand from the bar, take the last of his beer, kind of chug it back. It's about half the glass. Sets it down.
I'll buy you one. Yes, sir.
Generous. I like that.
Okay. Hello there. My name is Cillian. I'm not sure if you knew that.
That's what I was told. As he kind of closes the side door to this little area. It's got a longer table. It's kind of for meetings and that sort of thing you would expect. Probably 8 to 10 seats at this longer table, which he doesn't sit down at. He just kind of like leans up against. Well, I should probably start with the bad news. Yeah, Burgomaster Yond is, well, he's dead.
Are you fucking shitting me? Horace is gonna kill me.
I don't know what to tell you, man. We did send a message, but
come on, I've been traveling for like a month and a half. If I don't sell this thing, I'm dead.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know somebody else who might be interested.
You do? That's great. Thank
Somebody
you for the work.
Work for a little bit on the side. Got a little bit of coin to toss around and peculiar tastes.
Sounds interesting.
Can't promise you're going to get whatever might have been agreed upon in price. I'd stay out of all that. Take my wages and go. But I suppose you're a negotiator.
It's part of my job. Sure, I can get at least. Let's hope. What kind of individual is this? Strange, you said?
Well, he's a bit reclusive.
Okay. Think you'll talk to me?
With the right introduction, I think so.
You can give me that.
Yeah, not tonight, but meet me around noon, Marketplace.
Okay then. Well, easy
So
to
his
find
name is,
Marketplace.
Oh yeah, center of town. Everybody will be there selling their wares and whatnot. Mr. Reardon Doyle is his name. So one of the wealthier individuals in town. Had some connections with the old burgomaster, so I think he'll know what you're here for.
That sounds good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I will take that drink.
Yeah, for sure. Excuse me, and I'll go buying the drink.
Asuriel. First sensation you recognize is a pit in your stomach, a loss of equilibrium. It's hard to tell which way is up, which way might be down. You think you're falling, and you don't know for how long. The next thing you recognize is a biting chill on your skin, a soreness of being pressed against something hard. You try to move, and everything is stiff.
She's gonna open her eyes, try and see where she might be.
It's disorienting because everything is very dark. Darker than you would have ever experienced before. There are vague outlines of rock patterns. You're kind of huddled up against the side of a mountain, I guess you would say. It's very just rocky boulders. You kind of start to make out the twisting tangles of leafless trees, but everything is very oppressively dark and incredibly cold.
She's gonna get up, lean up against a tree probably, and kind of call out in a very weak voice, "Hello? Look, is anyone there?"
You realize you are completely naked. There's no signs of civilization anywhere around you. But as you're trying to speak, you can feel there's something on your neck.
She's gonna feel around, try and guess what it is.
Give me an insight check, actually. It's all you can tell is it's smooth, could be wood, could be metal. It's very difficult to tell what exactly it's made of, but it wraps all the way around your neck, and then it's open on the front, but you can feel not exactly prongs, but two bars almost, it feel like, press into the sides of your neck on either side of the esophagus. Not to the point of pain, but there's a constant pressure there, especially when you try to speak.
She's gonna try and remove it if she can.
Feeling around, you can't find any clasping device, you can't find hinges. It seems to be completely solid, wrapped around you, and unable to move.
Should stop fiddling with that. She's gonna pick up a stick. She doesn't know how, but she knows this is something she can do as she casts light on it to hopefully see her surroundings.
Sure. It's almost instinctual as you grab for anything, breaking a branch off of the tree. The twisted stick suddenly, like, from your hand outward, begins to illuminate. And Acrio, as you're turning the pass, you suddenly see this light just burst. It's unnatural in its radiance. It's not a firelight, it's not torches, it's a steady white glow, and your mules are almost spooked, but you have to keep them under control because while one side of this pass goes up, the other side is nearly a sheer drop. So keeping them under control is important. And
don't jump off the cliff, please.
You see what they see. Well, actually, describe yourself. Asuriel. What these mules and Acrios see.
Yeah. She's not a very tall woman. She's not very short either. She's very frail looking, very thin, almost emaciated. She looks absolutely terrified. Her hair is a mess. It seems to be white entirely, and she's got these clear blue eyes. If you look at her back, she seems to have a few scars. These seem kind of fresh.
What do I see? Just a scared naked woman trying to like
Yeah,
get this collar off with a stick.
She looks young. Well, yeah, she's more just using this. The stick is just illuminated in light, which I doubt you've ever seen before. At least not in. You might recognize a little bit of magic, but using a stick like that is a little odd. And yeah, youthful looking, but with very white, silvery hair. It's difficult to make out because it is very late at night. But yes, she has this strange collar that's open in the front, but with these angled bits that do press into her throat.
All right, random woman on the road just covers his eyes as he sees a naked woman holding a glowing stick, and he's like, "What are you doing out here in the middle of the night?"
I don't know. Who are you?
We're doing pleasantries. One sec. And he goes into his cart, grabs one of his cloaks, and kind of, while covering his eyes, respectively, moves over and hands her the cloak, and he's like, "Put this on, please, for the love of God." Or Avacyn.
She takes the cloak and wraps it tightly around herself. She was definitely shivering and absolutely freezing, but she looks a little reassured that he gives her a cloak instead of tries to stab her or something.
Come on, let's get you in the cart and tell me what you're doing here in a second or two.
Question.
Guides her over.
Does Acrio, and there's no right or wrong answers, does Acrio have like any methods or suspicions when he's out, whenever he does travel, which is not often, about like vampiric deceptions or, witches trying to catch you on the roadside? Does he even, does that register in his head, or is he just like, oh, person, it's a person?
That's a thing that his parents failed to teach him about. It was like teach the youngest daughter and teach the oldest son, but you know what? Fuck the middle child.
Oh no, he's got middle child syndrome.
So
No.
he does have his
probably
hand
assumed to always stay in Braylet, where everything would be safe and you wouldn't have to worry about the roads.
Yeah, so he's got his hand resting on a hand axe, but he's not like, "What are you doing here? Stay away from me."
And describe what Asuriel sees in the light of her stick as she approaches this man who has given her this, pale white hooded cloak.
With his cloak off, you see the cloak itself had very tall, reinforced collar that kind of covered his neck, tight around, went up to his chin, kind of kept all that safe, and that covered the plating and the general outfit. And when he takes it off, there's first on his chest, there's a very large symbol of I don't know what the bird of Stensia is. They have a symbol, and there's a bird with two outcropped wings going across toward his shoulders, and then on the kind of ornate clothing, there's symbols of Avacyn, kind of metal embroidery. He's a lot more plated than most people are. Plated shoulder pads, helmet, and then the rest is splint armor that covers all the organs, vitals or not, and simple brown hair, brown eyes. Nothing too unique about him. He looks like the everyday guy.
Of course, Asuriel doesn't really remember what the everyday guy might look like. You see this somewhat imposing figure encased in metal, but he seems to have been kind, and the symbols on his armor are somehow reassuring.
I'm sorry. Can you tell me where we are?
Where am I right now?
You are on the Hofsettle Pass.
How dangerous is this place?
I mean, as much as anywhere out of a city in...
Because, yeah, I know one of the paths is like...
The Needle's Eye was the more dangerous one. This one is... It's treacherous, but it's not overly plagued with monstrosities.
Got it.
Especially not this season, being the new moon. It's kind of the season of humans. Springtime is coming. It's still pretty cold, but monsters are kind of retreating as much as they ever will.
How'd you get here? Abandoned? Bait?
I don't know. I woke up in the woods. That's
It wasn't really the woods. It's more on the mountainside.
I woke up on
Sees one
mountainside.
tree.
Hey, she's
Is this the
disoriented.
woods?
But he means wood.
Is this a woods?
Yeah, she looks very confused and disoriented. She has no idea what's going on.
How far along am I to Corsica?
You'd be still several days away.
Okay. And what is my... Is the cart that I'm taking along with me more just a box with wheels on it for storing weapons, or can
It's a single
person?
axle. You've got the bench seat to ride up front. Walled sides, maybe 8 feet long in the back, 5 feet wide on the sides. 2 mules pulling it, but that's probably overkill, honestly. But you've got fairly heavy metal to pull, so.
Well, also when one dies, you usually
There's
have
yeah,
another.
that's what I was about to say. Exactly, have a backup
Yeah.
in case something gets attacked.
Mm-hmm. Try to keep one alive at least. Two's a pleasure.
So you've got two barrels primarily in the back for your delivery that have been stocked with weapons and a few other scatterings of things, some of them rolled up in leather the way you would blades and that sort of thing, but you could easily fit someone either on the bench seat next to you or they could ride in the back without issue.
Do I know if silver affects witches or vampires? Like just touching to their skin?
Make a religion check, because you have been trained in this. So
yeah, not very smart. Oh,
Hey!
You've been very well trained in this, so vampires won't react to the presence of silver really at all if it's in the form of a weapon. Which is even less so. A werewolf would instinctually back away, and you would notice, even if you just pressed it to the skin, there would probably be some kind of irritation, even without a cut. As far as checking for vampires, the most common method is to have a small mirror, silver-backed mirror, and angle it to see their reflection. Because the glamours that vampires use are not shown in the reflection. So you would see what they would look like as if they were human, which is typically different from their appearance as vampires.
I also just say, open your mouth, or I'll beat you.
Yeah, you can also just check the teeth. That works too. Although some of them do use illusions to mask that as well.
Oh yeah. Or just sit tight, we'll get your course. Don't do anything funny. No. What was that?
Okay.
And he'll set the mules on their way. And while that's going on,
Flick the reins, and they both respond immediately.
yeah, are they relatively smart? Can they pretty much get along on their own without fucking up?
I mean, it's a fairly narrow path, and yeah, they're not going to try to climb this cliffside either up or down. So yeah, they'll just keep, as long as you keep them moving, it's going to be on the path you need to go.
Okay.
They might get distracted and try to stop and eat something, but you just got to kind of prod them on.
I guess just ride out as long as I was going to, and then find camp.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty late. You would probably, I don't know if you have a simple map or something of the area in advance for your travels. It wouldn't have been hard to get one in your supplies, hand-drawn, so not the most accurate, but you would think you're probably within the next day going to come to an area where it like flattens out more near the Summerwald, where the forest will start to encroach on the road more, but it won't be such a sheer drop. But you're still a day or so away from that.
Okay. So, I guess set up in a cave or a tent? Or
Yeah, you would have a tent.
Yeah, I'll set up a tent and a fire, which is pretty easy. I just, huzzah, there's a fire now.
So, yes, yeah, you can easily either make one or magic a fire. Question, where is your primary weapon? Do you have it on your person, or is it stashed somewhere?
My primary weapon.
Yes, you know the one I'm talking about.
That thing's really heavy, so it doesn't sit on me. It sits on the seat of the cart, and usually within grabbing distance.
Sure.
Like instant, captured, stolen, murdered distance.
Exactly. But would you keep it exposed to anybody who saw it, or do you keep it wrapped in a sheepskin or something?
Considering how much he values it, he probably leaves it on display. But there's also no reason to hide it. If anything, if someone saw it, it'd scare them off. And traveling a road alone, that's better than seeming like it isn't there, I guess.
So yeah, in that case, Asuriel, you would also see on the bench seat right next to Acrio a hammer, large head, larger than seems rational almost. The pommel of the handle has this blue crystal that almost matches the color of your eyes, and the either side of the hammer itself, difficult to make out in the darkness, but it almost looks like granite. It looks like stone more than it does any kind of steel or bronze. There is some bronze inlays and shapes, that same symbol of Avacyn built into it. But yeah, that is also there. Lorelei.
Yes?
We're going to flash back a couple days for you.
Ah, fuck.
This is the night after the internment in the graph, after the wake, and everybody has kind of announced their intentions to go separate ways. You find yourself in your room. It's very late at night, sitting in front of the mirror, without probably still wearing the cloak, but having dressed down for the evening. What does Lorelei see of herself in the mirror?
She probably sees what's left of her after the attack. The sort of, what are they, like stitches, I guess?
Effectively.
Yeah, just sort of the stitches, and they're like kind of crossing over her scalp, and she sees the deepening bags under her eyes that never really seem to go away no matter how much sleep she gets, and her eyes themselves are about as grey as the bags under them. And she's just staring at herself in the mirror kind of listlessly.
Mm-hmm. The stitches very precise, surgical almost looking along these healing cuts that are less than a week old. All the threads, although they're not actually threads, trail down one arm and all coalesce onto a origin point of this bracelet that you have worn. And this is an unusual feature that you didn't know it had till recently.
She kind of traces her finger like over the bracelet and then like kind of along the stitches. Like, what on earth happened?
And there is a reminiscence of the man who gave you that bracelet, your father. And it's hard to even remember the context. You were so young at the time. And he didn't seem to put as much importance on it as you would think if it had this power. But there was a sentimentality more than anything else. It's just kind of like reflect on his face. There is a at your door.
She gathers herself, pulls the cloak like further around her, and pulls the hood back up to hide the stitches, make sure her arm's hidden. And she goes to the door and opens it.
Well, you have to look down. Even shorter than you, there's this strange-shaped, hunchback, bulbous on one side, individual, bald head, one side misshapen and the eye is sealed closed while his left eye is larger than it should be for his face, dressed in a black cloak that hangs unevenly from him, even this late hour, completely adorned, while one hand would appear to be in some kind of iron gauntlet. And Repellum just looks up at you. I'm sorry to disturb you at this late hour, Miss Fenwick, but I think this is important.
Not at all. Come in. She'll usher him in and close the door. If it seems important, just close the door.
Limps in, glancing back in the hallway just before the door closes. As I'm sure you know, I have business I must attend to.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't sure if this would be the last time that we spoke, and so if the remainder of our group sticks together, what's the provider? Well, reaches into his bag that's slung across his shoulder. With the metal hand, you hear things shuffling around, and he pulls out a pair of silver manacles that you recognize having been taken from the Burgomaster Jan's estate. I don't anticipate necessarily any more problems, but you know I like to have a backup plan.
Always, yeah.
Just in case. I think you should have these.
Sure, but it really doesn't feel right.
I don't think this is really a matter of right or wrong. Personal safety is at stake. Individuals, from what I understand, are not fully in control. You can't blame them. I don't. You can't control them either. This is security.
I'll hold on to them. But only as a last resort.
Of course, what you do with it is up to you. But I couldn't say I didn't try.
Thank you.
Yes.
And good luck, wherever it is you're going.
I'm not sure luck has anything to do with it. But if it does, I wish the best to you as well. just kind of like nods, and you can see he's very uncomfortable, not necessarily from the conversation, but more just his physical being as he shuffles out of the room.
As he turns, Lorelei just like kind of grabs his shoulder and then just like turns him around and just gives him a quick hug.
Taking
Sorry.
Repellent completely off guard, but he's like, you feel one hand kind of reach up and pat your shoulder.
Sorry, just this is for me. And she lets go. Safe travels.
Perhaps we'll cross paths again.
I can only hope.
And he exits the room.
And she immediately puts the silver manacles in the bottom of her bag, away from sight. Just tries and like shoves her bag just like to the side of the room, just tries not to even think about it.
In the time after the funeral, how has Amrita been spending her days / nights?
She finds herself in probably one of the more quiet areas of the place that they have been. She kind of like finds herself at some point, maybe in the library, just busy reading over a book and everything, just staring. It doesn't look like she's reading any particular paragraph, and just trying to see if there are any other notes that she could play for her flute to calm her nerves, but her hands feel rather fidgety, and she just kind of like shoves the book and her flute away.
What kind of proximity would you have to the cathedral in Corsiva? Would you be in the church library, or would you be avoiding that or paying much mind to it at all?
Probably in the church library, and she's just kind of like thinking about many things up to her past and like her family and the likes and where she's at now. It's like, I have to find him. But will that do anything?
You hear footsteps approaching very softly. You look over and you see a priest, rather portly, bald on top, just a little hair on the side and a tuft in the front, wearing gloves, and he's kind of wringing his hands nervously, and says, if you're looking for something in music, we actually do have an extensive section, more than most church libraries would have. It's a personal interest of mine. I saw you had the instrument there.
Yes. Do you have any specific ones for the flute? Specifically, I mean.
Well, in terms of literature, of course, it's a bit more broad than that. But there are some music theory works that you might find interesting.
That would be wonderful, sir.
Sorry, Brother Valentine. I wanted to thank you for what you and, I know it's been a bit now, but your friends had done for this town. The man in charge had been a burden on us all that has been lifted. And now we can focus on more pressing issues. So thank you again.
Just doing what I guess we thought was right, so. She kind of like stares at her hands for like a moment, and like she feels like as soon as like she blinks, she sees like just an image for a moment, almost like a flashback, but then she like snaps out of it and just kind of like towers like over this man as she like stares down at him standing up. I think I need to get that book now. Calm my nerves a bit before I will eventually be on my way.
We don't need to stay on in lovely Korsava. It's well, it's safe now.
I have been meaning to go to another city for some time, and I've been delayed long enough.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. You see, I was lying just then. Korsava is not safe at all. And I apologize, but rehearsed that speech so often I almost believed it myself. I don't want to burden you if you're on your way. I'm sorry. Thank you again. It was Miss Mablethorne?
Yes, Amrita Mablethorne. What is troubling? If I may ask. If I can't figure it out, I'm sure a companion of mine surely could, maybe.
The world encroaches. There is corruption everywhere. Some of it brought on by Yond, others hid in his shadow. Again, we will handle it. Thank you for everything that you've done. I understand that there's other parts of the world you need to attend to as well. Personal issues.
Well, I'll pass the word regardless.
The more people know to be on the watch for foul deeds, the better. We gained a sense of complacency when the Yond was in charge. Everybody focused on that and not on the other larva in this town.
There's always a set of people that is going to be corrupt, I guess, no matter where we go, even on the roads, even in the cities. Can't stop every single one, but one day at a time.
Yes, quite. One day at a time, doing what we can. Here, let me show you to this literature. And Asuriel and Acrio. A pair of you have traveled several days. How has has there been any conversation between the two of you for the past couple days? What's the vibe?
What's the vibe? Vibe check.
Vibe check.
Cyril's definitely asking questions
What?
about
I'm checking.
sleeping.
No, I was not.
Just resting my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I was just contemplating the existence of humanity and everything.
Sure.
That's the vibe then, okay.
42.
Uh-huh.
42.
Boy, shut the fuck up. Who's killing who?
You and
Asuriel?
Asuriel have been traveling for the past couple days, and I'm curious how, if you've been conversing or what's the vibe between you two at this moment.
Lee is Stensian, and after the first couple of days of her not murdering him, if he wasn't before, he now knows that she's probably not going to murder him, which is always a good sign. I don't know how much I can cheat and make, metal inlaid clothing.
Probably not at all.
Fuck!
You would think, you could give her, you've got spare clothing in terms of just regular attire that you could let her borrow. But yeah, once you get to Korsava, you would have more opportunity. I assume Acrio would have in his mind, yeah, sometime we need to buy some clothing that actually fits, because yeah, she'd just be wearing like your clothing, which is not, obviously he's not
Fitted for a
overly
person.
large, but compared to the frail state of Asuriel, it's still very baggy. Just kind of like tied around her, and then the cloak, white cloak covering everything.
Yeah, it's like most of his clothing is for a normal sized person of his stature, and then it's his armor and then the cloak. So his cloak on anyone else looks like this giant thing because it's made for going over.
It's like when you.
Tent.
It's like when like a kid like wears like their dad's shirt.
That's exactly what's going on with her boots, as she's wearing a spare pair of boots.
Oh no.
They
18 sizes too large.
Yeah.
But
when
they're
you wear your mom's heels.
They're lined and they're warm with wool and everything for the travels. Two of you have. Okay, go ahead.
Asuriel's probably been asking questions like, where were they? Who was he? Where were they going? But otherwise, she just kind of stared out over the cliff. That's pretty much it.
At this point, you guys would have made it to a portion of the Somber World, where things have kind of plateaued. Somewhat more forested. It's still coming into or out of the Hunter's Moon, so it's still cold, and most of the trees have not regained their leaves. There's still evergreens around, but everything is still fairly barren, which is something that Acrio is used to in much of Styncia, but it has a bleak feeling to Asuriel.
And he'll tell them that they're heading to Corsiva, but he'll mostly ask how she got the giant solid. It's metal, right? When Acrio takes a look at it.
Yeah, if you would like to investigate the collar, you can do so.
Roll the investigations. I'm not very smart. Okay.
Keep saying that.
The dice would argue with that statement. So yeah, in terms of craftsmanship, you've never seen anything like it. It is a solid band, silvered iron, and yeah, there's no locking mechanism, there's no hinge, it's completely solid. It doesn't look like it's ever been bent to like go around her neck. It's just almost a permanent fixture. And yeah, there's these two angled bits, probably about 2 inches, wide on the band, and yeah, 2 angled pieces that just put pressure onto the sides of her throat. You would also see or notice on the back there is a like a ring, an eyelet on the back side of it.
Just a little circle.
I mean, yeah, well, basically something you could hook a chain or a tether to.
Honest.
Yeah, she'll reply she has no idea. She just woke up with it.
You, some kind of slave or another?
I don't know. I don't remember anything.
Well, it doesn't look like it'd get on you any other way than you being raised with it around your neck and you kind of grown into it, because that thing ain't bending anytime soon.
Can you get it off?
Can I get it off? I don't think I can.
Would Acrio try?
Before like trying to hack away at it with any and every tool, it's like a quick assessment of the situation and the tools he has. Like a normal, like, would I be able to snap it in any other situation?
So
Like
you
how
would
much
assume,
metal?
given if it weren't on someone's neck, the easiest thing, and you could potentially do this even if it were, would just be to grab the open portion, with some kind of mechanism, either your hands or something else, and just pry until it bent on the backside. You know that silver is not particularly strong, and this is not hardened steel, it's just iron. So that is also more pliable.
Okay.
Exactly the means of doing that is what you have available.
I ain't exactly Brock. Does it look like it's cast iron or forged iron or like an unnatural perfect iron?
Somewhere between forged and unnatural.
What flavor of iron is it?
Okay, well, because if it was cast, it's very brittle, so you could just hit it with a hammer.
It's not cast iron for sure.
Yeah. I'll try and hit it with a hammer and a chisel.
So you go over to the cart to retrieve your tools. I believe you do have smith tools on you as well. Yeah. So as you're going over to retrieve those from the cart, stepping away from the campfire, as Asuriel sitting at the face of the tent, you become aware of the amount of evening mist. It's sundown. There's still a vague sense of hue and color on the horizon, always perpetually behind the clouds. The only time you, Acrio, would have ever seen the actual glowing orb of fire in the sky is when you had left Stinzia for your training. And since you've returned, this is actually a good question. Do you miss seeing the actual sun, or do you prefer it being hidden because that's the way you grew up?
I am actually missing my smith tools, but I do get them from being a folk hero.
Yeah, you can go and add those if you haven't already.
Smith's tools. Oh, I get an iron pot.
Sick.
Awesome.
You can make a cereal soup.
Yay!
Yes.
Or you could make a cereal soup.
Yeah, we're making a cereal soup, not soup for a cereal.
Oh, that's what I was going for to begin with. Is like you'll make the cereal into soup.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Fucking, why would you make her soup? Why would you make her soup? Creepy Left 4 Dead witch looking ass.
Yeah. Yeah, considering it's always cold and it's always slightly rainy and it's always just misting outside, it's a mist sight to have the warmth of the sun on his face, because normally that slight burning sensation on his face and his arms only comes from working the forge, but when it's the sunlight, it's all the time.
Mm-hmm. So with that vague, sense of reminiscence about the sun as it's beginning to depart even from behind the clouds, and you're stepping over to the cart, you start to see something move in the mist.
Shit.
And there's some kind of spectral, ghostly, it's not a hand, but it's almost like an arm, comes to a point that just comes over the back of the cart, and then another and another, as you see this large, almost ghost-like spider crawling over the backside of your cart.
Oh, oh god, my son's at it again.
And I would like the both of you to roll initiative, please.
Uh-oh. Maybe it's friendly.
That's
Ghost
speed.
spiders are always friendly.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh.
Going last, unless it has like negative dex archangels and that one as well.
Asuriel, you also catch sight of this as you've watched Acrio step over to the cart, and you're the first to react to this. It's easily the size of a dog, even though you're not entirely sure what a dog is, but it's pretty large, and it's coming almost out of the mist, and it is Geist-like. What do you instinctually do? What powers do you call upon?
The power of scream.
Power of bug spray.
She sort of gets up from where she was sitting, shocked to see it, and she's gonna try and... No, wait, that's a card. Firebolt's not a good idea.
Why do you have firebolt?
She's gonna cast Fairy Fire on it. Seems like a good idea.
Interesting, okay.
That's
Like-
a glowy ghost spider.
You mean angel fire?
Yeah.
Both in a raid.
Shit.
Ooh.
Passes.
So, this burst of light that showers down on it, it almost seems to phase through these elements of light as they engulf the cart and give like a mild glow to everything there, but the creature almost like steps into the mist above it, hovering almost above the cart slightly. Reaching up its body, coiling and angling its butt end, thorax, I can't remember what it's called, backside of it. It is going to
Abdomen.
yes, the abdomen part, ghost whip, but it will miss against
Is that-
Acrio.
Oh,
Yes,
holy
because-
shit!
Actually-
Something missed me.
yeah. You get hit partially with these like spectral webs, but you're quick enough to like brush them off. It's weird because they do almost seem to like stick and reattach, but shove them off as quick as you can without being affected by them. And now you're up.
I am up. I am the one who is up. I'm gonna fucking blast it in the face with a dazzle.
Okay.
Grab the hammer, hold it up, and then just burst of light in its eye holes. Charisma save.
It is not charismatic. Or maybe
Fuck.
it's a ghost.
16
Again,
on
this-
these
the-
checks to
The
avoid
light,
shit.
you can see the light reflecting in the mist, going completely through it as it is not solid at all.
Alright.
This
Now,
wraith spider.
spiritual weapon, go beat the shit out of him, please.
Ooh.
Okay.
So then I just hold the hammer up and I kind of pull it in the air, and then as I bring it up, the hammer stays here, and then like a duplicate copy of it kind of phases past it and raises into the air, and it'll move forward to beat the shit out of it.
And this spiritual hammer is like wreathed in flame.
Yeah, and it'll do a heckin' slap. God damn it, we're gonna die. We have
That took one ghost spider.
Asuriel, you see this flash of light come out from Acrio. You see this duplicate spiritual hammer appear and swing down. The spider kind of like dodges to the side, and Acrio almost has to pull his punch because he realizes he's swinging directly for his cart. So there's that moment of hesitancy just to make sure he doesn't crush anything on there.
So she's gonna grab the first thing she can, a stick, knife, anything she can carry, and she's gonna cast light on it.
Mm-hmm.
They can see the spider well. And then she's gonna quicken spell, and this time she's gonna mind sliver it.
Good
Jesus.
Lord Almighty.
What the
Doesn't seem
fuck?
to be affected by this little disruption that you aim toward
Bro.
curious if it even has a mind, really. It's almost like a apparition. Clamber down off the cart, get away from that spiritual weapon, and using you to kind of block the light from the fire, campfire, despite your glowing rock that's in your hand, run up to you. You can feel its like legs kind of like clawing at you, but it's not as it doesn't feel fully physical, but it definitely has some kind of manifested presence, as its geist-like fangs will attempt to life drain, but I think that fails.
We're gonna spend this entire combat not being able to touch each other.
This is like a war of attrition.
Yeah, its fangs just like, it looks like they would pierce into the cloak that you're wearing, and you can almost see it like pulling back at the cloth, but then as it rears back and exposes its fangs, there's actually no holes in the cloak.
Do a couple things. I'm gonna run up behind it with that delicious flanking to compensate for the lack of proficiency as I raise my hammer in the air and then try and bonk it.
Your physical hammer.
My physical hammer. The spiritual one will be coming shortly.
Don't you worry.
Oh, hey.
That will definitely hit.
The hammer of light, it pierces the heavens.
Oh,
Oh.
That's pretty good.
And then the spiritual one will come up next to him, and as he bonks it, he raises his hammer, and then the other one in unison goes down on it.
Nice.
Does 10 hit?
Unfortunately, that one does not.
Oh.
Getting crushed and its legs splayed out by this stone, granite, and bronze hammer. The spiritual, it like, twists and like then curls up as you release, the way an actual spider would, but then it almost kind of like rolls a little bit to the side as your spiritual hammer comes down and hits the dirt.
Alright, she's gonna cast Flame Blade, and let's see how this goes.
Knowing Salty's rolls.
Shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. Don't say a goddamn word, do not jinx it.
Oh, I'm sure you'll do great, Salty.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. The dice gods are not going to crush your rolls again.
Does that hit?
Literally just enough to hit.
Well, it's better than not hitting, so I'm happy about that. As it gets closer and she dodges away from the attack, there's just blade of fire that bursts out of her hand. Almost looks like the head of the spider. Desperately slashes at the spider, trying to get it away from her.
So yeah, because it's smaller, it's almost sickle-like in the shape of it, and it's like this intensely bright white radiant fire. Yeah, that cleaves through it for quite a bit, actually. This wraith does seem to react very poorly to fire.
Oh, nice.
Again, this cloak, this pale white cloak is also, it almost seems divinely protected, as it just cannot pierce through it.
I actually put titanium plates in there.
And seeing that, you guys are far too desperate of prey. It's gonna run and go for the mules, but you do get attacks of opportunity if you would like.
Kill it.
No, wait, just my spiritual weapon.
Spiritual weapon doesn't have reactions. Those do hit though.
The weapons of the guy.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it doesn't even get really out of your reach as you see it starting to scuttle away. A hammer, just a massive stone and bronze hammer, slams down on it, bursting with flames as Asuriel's flame blade cuts horizontally and just eviscerates it, and just its appearance disappearing into the mist.
No more.
Make perception check.
Yeah, maybe I'll do the same.
Everyone's still there.
Oh,
Why do I have a plus?
Hello?
What? Okay, that's not supposed to be there. Never mind.
Yeah, I
Ignore
don't
the
think
plus
that's
4.
supposed to be checked. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do have guidance.
Yeah, if you want to use some guidance, that's cool.
So
Yeah.
I could use it on her to give that extra 4.
Sure. Yeah,
It's already there.
yeah. How if you were doing that, how would Acrio apply guidance? Because it is a touch-based thing. How would he do that in this moment?
Just kind of, if she's frantically looking around, then he doesn't have the best of eyes, so he'll just like give her a pat on the shoulder, and then kind of the flames jumping from his hand looks a little better now. Everything is a little more clear.
With a bit of divine, angelic clarity. There was a moment of like frantic, almost feeling of isolation when you were looking out and trying to observe anything around you, because you can only see as far as your campfire glows, which is not particularly far. You see the branches of these trees almost like reaching into the light through the mist, some of them with webs laced between them. But with this clarity and guidance, you felt as though your eyes should have seen farther, but again, that's the limited range that you could see. But you kind of open your ears and your other senses, and you hear bugs, or not, actually there wouldn't be bugs because it's too cold for that. Probably nocturnal birds, we'll say. You hear some nocturnal birds, flap and fly away in the distance. But everything kind of settles down. The mules are kind of like pulling at their tethers, trying to get away, but then seeing this thing disappear, they kind of glance around and they calm down as well. And for the moment at least, it seems the danger has passed for the night.
There wasn't any other spider.
Certainly wouldn't seem like it currently.
Yeah, and by no means I'm trying to pry, but I did just watch you pull a blade of fire out of your hand. So you do know how to do something. And you do remember how to do what you just did.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, instinct. There's not much more to it than that. It's just there. I know how to use it, but I don't remember where it comes from or why I have it.
Fair enough for me. Try anymore. I'm gonna take a look around the perimeter, try not to die. Walk off to do a little peeky.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure there's nothing around lurking.
You'd probably find a few varmints in the area, weasels and that sort of stuff. Maybe a fox. The far distance, there are the howls of wolves, but you would guess that they're far enough away that they're not going to catch sight or scent of you. But it is an ever-present issue on the roads, common wolves and various other types. But for the evening, it doesn't appear as though your perimeter check yields any overly hostile individuals.
Yeah. So we'll go back and try. Crack.
Cillian, where would you have stayed for the evening after your arrival in Corsiva? There are inns. The saloon has a couple rooms recently vacated for the most part. So you have options. How high quality would he go for?
Oh, he would go to he would try to find a place where some conversation can be had, realize there isn't any, and then just go for a low option. Probably. Or just come back to where he began. Yeah.
Cormac would be fair conversation during the evening until it gets a little late, and he just bids his good night. He actually says he's got some tasks to take care of before midnight, and that must be done before he can even sleep. So he will leave you. Do you explore the town at all, or is it kind of straight to bed?
He probably won't go straight to bed. He'll probably stay up late, but I don't think he'll explore.
Sure.
Stay in the raft.
Sure. So Cillian, Lorelei, and Amrita awake at various times during the day. Early morning, though. I figure Amrita and Lorelei probably not sharing a room in this moment. They have gotten separate arrangements.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, because Amrita is trying to basically just leave, of course, if she can, and kind of just go out and do some errands, and tries to kind of get up as early as she can.
So, Amrita, your sleep has been particularly restless the past night, and not just from the recent events, the death and dismemberment that you have faced and witnessed. You can't see it, but that vague glow of moonlight that Cillian had seen in the water, you can feel that the full moon has passed. You've kept it under control, but your sleep was hard to come by, and you feel very exhausted in the morning.
She'll kind of like go to the bar and like whoever's there, just maybe like ask, "Can I get a cup of coffee, please?" Before I go to the stables and thereabouts, take care of a few stuff.
There's a younger boy who helps out Anna and Amel in the mornings. You can see he's also very tired. It's pretty early, but this is one of his jobs for the day. As he goes and retrieves this tin coffee pot that's been boiling and brewing the coffee, and pours that into, it is effectively a beer mug, a smaller one, but that's what they have. So, and he'll inquire, do you need any we got sugar? Most places don't. We got a little bit, and obviously milk if you need it. Plenty of that.
Both of those would be just fine. Thanks, kid.
Sure. Yeah. It would just be a silver. A copper. Because silver is not currency in this setting.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I have a gold piece.
He can make a change for that, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she gives me.
He's a little bit impressed as you pay with a gold piece. Is like, okay, takes that back and brings you 9 coppers in exchange.
Yeah, pour me one as well, please. Thank you.
Amrita, you hear this voice coming down the stairs into the main room, which is, there are a couple other people seated at tables, kind of that smell of, crispy bacon and eggs in the morning, porridge and that sort of thing. Yes, this voice comes from behind you, and the boy at the counter nods, begins to pour another. Ask you, cream, sugar, anything like that?
Black is fine. Need to wake up. Hate the morning.
That's how I take mine also. Seems to boast, even though he's only like 16.
Oh, ain't
And
you a
it's probably
strong one?
Well, you got to be around here. I can see you're not from you're not from Corsica. Probably not even Stinzy by the look of you. Not that
Nope.
that's a problem. I'm just
Here on
noting.
vacation.
Got relatives in these parts.
Nah, joking. For work, as always. Don't want to travel the road for nothing.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to travel the road at all. See, hands you a mug. It's like halfway full with coffee, so normal amount, but in a larger like beer cup, beer stein.
I'll slide over a copper. Copper, right? Right. Thank you very much. And I'll go sit somewhere.
Absolutely, anytime.
Amrita just kind of like mutters to herself and like watches the strange individual for a second, but like trails her eyes like to the door.
And this would be a good time for Cillian to describe what Amrita sees as this other
Sure.
individual who has purchased a coffee next to her.
Yeah, who the fuck are you?
I'll see it. I'm a brown-skinned guy with a pretty widespread pattern of vitiligo across his face, and across his neck, and part of his arms. He wears these brown curls, kind of a bit down, has these two earrings, one very long one. He wears this brown long cardigan that kind of flows behind him a bit, and then just simple reinforced leather clothes as a sort of armor underneath. Very light eyes, way more light than you would have expected, and he's just constantly, annoyingly smiling. So now you see, long V-neck. He just sits at the table, throws his shoes on top, and goes to drink his coffee.
Someone in the bar nearby kind of like looks up, shoves his mouth full of eggs, just kind of shaking his head at you.
I toast my cup towards him and give him a wink.
He'll drink some of his coffee out of a beer glass.
What time of morning is it?
He looks like a shepherd type. This would probably be around dawn-ish, although dawn's a bit difficult to determine in Stinzia because it's always cloudy, so it's like the light is starting to appear in the haze on the horizon, so it's like a bit of natural light through the window, but it's still very dim. But there's that pre-dawn chill in the air, especially during a time when it's like just past the hunter's moon.
Amrita
kind of like in a... Sorry, you go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. It's fine.
I was going to say, like Lorelei would kind of come down sort of when she kind of hears motion sort of pick up downstairs. Like she's probably been awake for a bit, but then she just kind of listens out to see when, there's a bit of noise in the tavern, and then she kind of just comes out and like floats like a little bit down the stairs. She's got a cloak like very tightly wrapped around her, so it's very hard to see her feet move. And she kind of just sidles up to Amrita. Good morning.
Well, someone seems to be in good mood. She kind of like stares at the strange man over there on the table and like looks back briefly and just like drinks her coffee.
Make somebody. I thought I'd catch you before you go, Amrita.
Well, you've caught me. I have errands that I need to proceed to. I'll try to leave maybe midday if possible. Afternoon, but I guess I better pass this along to somebody. Whether or not you continue to stay here. She kind of like gets like in a low whisper. I was at this library in the city. Spoke to, I don't recall his name in this very moment, but one of the people there. He talked about there being others, or Not necessarily followers of Yon, but just trouble. So be careful.
You don't want to do anything about it? I mean, we've already done something. If it's connected, shouldn't we do more? What am I saying? You're leaving. I shouldn't get my hopes up.
Can I be listening in, Jake? Do I hear this?
Oh yeah, sure. If they're trying to whisper and stay quiet, I'd say make a perception check.
Are you?
Yeah, Amrita's kind of like being whispery about it. I don't know about Lorelei.
She's being hushed.
I'm gonna say
Not
you
necessarily.
don't. The context of it is hard to make out. You probably catch things like associative yawns and trouble and that sort of thing, but it's hard to tell exactly what they're going on about.
Sure. He's just listening in, pretending not to be, of course.
Amrita finds herself tense up for a second and inhales before taking like a last drink of her coffee. Part of me thinks I should not stay. At the back of my mind, maybe. I'm going out. And Amrita just kind of like sets the empty cup on the counter. Thanks again, kid. I'll probably come back to this place one more time. Then we'll bid our farewells. Kind of like nods to Lorelei and then just...
I'll see you then.
Yep. She doesn't say anything and just kind of leaves and walks out.
If you were to inquire about the location of the stables, stuff like that, the boy could direct you that way.
Yeah, she would.
Since Anne is not up quite yet.
Yeah. Yeah, she kind of like inquires. So.
Mm-hmm. And they're just off the main market square area.
I'll immediately after Amrita leaves, I'll just sidle up next to Lorelei. Say, so, are you perchance a local, or at least know the place?
I guess I know the place. I'm not a local, but...
Okay, sure. Have you ever heard of a guy named Doyle? I forgot his first name because...
Doyle. Have I heard it?
Hasn't come up.
I'm afraid not. I don't really talk to people very often.
Why? People are awesome.
Sure, I just haven't had the chance. I've never met a Doyle. Sorry.
Okay, well, he's supposed to be a bit of a reclusive, so I guess that's not
That would
something
make
to be
sense.
surprised about. Yeah.
It would make sense why our paths have never crossed.
I just needed to talk to him and wanted to know everything about him before I could. Also, any idea what happened to the main guy, because that threw some soot in my dinner.
Lorelei awkwardly shifts in her seat and scoots an inch or two away. You're not looking for him, are you?
Well, I sort of was, but...
Are you working for him?
Not for him. I'm sorry, did I offend?
I'm just saying, choose your answer very carefully. Because me and my companions killed him.
Are you threatening me?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know the guy. I had to deal with him. That's God's honest truth. Angels.
He was a plague on the town, and we disposed of it.
Cool. Sucky guy? Asshole?
Oh yeah. Complete bastard.
Guess he doesn't deserve the painting then.
Unfortunate.
Just the painting deal, that's all. I'm sorry. I have a painting for him. You're acting like I'm like some sociopath or something.
Look,
I'm not. Trust me.
I'm sorry. It's just when someone leads with, "Hey, have you met this person who was oppressing a whole town of people for a while, it doesn't exactly look good for
Well,
you.
and you said you killed him? Damn.
Not me personally, but me and my associates did, yeah.
Sounds so official.
That's
cool.
all I can call them these days.
That
There's-
was one of them?
Was, yes.
That's too bad.
She's probably going to be leaving. It'll just be me.
Now you don't have to answer me because you don't really know me, of course. But why'd you kill him?
He was an arse.
Good enough reason.
There was...
Tell me about him. Why was he an arse? Because I sort of had to deal with him, and I didn't know, and I don't want to be the asshole in the situation, you know?
He was dealing with some... He hurt a
If you would
friend.
like to show Cillian, if you're more visual, you would know that Jan's head is still on the spike of his main gate, right in front of his manor, and it is what it is.
In that case, yeah, she will just kind of wordlessly gesture for him to follow.
He finishes his coffee real quick.
Better if I show you.
Sit down.
And she will just quietly make her way over to the head on the spike. Just kind of point at it.
The streets of Corsiva are starting to come alive. People in Stinzy are pretty early risers. There's lots of work to be done to survive on kind of this rocky frontier parish. So a lot of people are up. You move through the streets, coming to the manor, which is like a 2-story house with a lawn around it. You can see there's still like bits of snow up against the building that have yet to melt. It's not quite warm enough for that yet. Wrought iron fence all the way around, and right out front in these large arched gates there is a head that has been impaled on it, which you can see, Cillian, is darker red in skin, not a tone you've ever seen before, and there are 2 horn-like protrusions kind of like pierced through the skin at uneven angles.
Oh,
It looks like the head's been there several weeks. The eyes are very dead. They've been picked out by crows at this point. And yeah, it's frozen and thawed a couple times.
I'm sorry I inquired. This makes a lot of sense.
Well, thankfully you weren't working for such a person.
I almost was. Dodged a bullet there. I might be working with some of his associates. Yikes.
You might want to cut those deals as quickly as you can. Did I catch your name, Mr.
Oh, sorry. Cillian Vistani.
Oh, Lorelei Fenwick. Charmed.
Laura. Well, it's wonderful to meet you.
Unfortunate
This place sucks,
circumstances.
doesn't it?
Yes. It's a house of horrors.
Sure is. Looks kind of creepy.
Oh, believe me, it was creepy inside as well. You don't even know half of it.
Is there any change, Jake, in my buddies around this place?
You would see there is, as you kind of like start to focus, you actually feel more presence than usual, especially on the roads, but even in cities, even in Nephalia, which is known for like the Nebelgast and that sort of thing. It feels almost like that when spirits come in from the tides in the mist. It's an almost oppressive feeling of just ended lives around you, cut short far too soon, more than you've experienced in a while.
Sorry.
Don't be, he's dead. We dealt with it.
Oh, right. Sorry. A lot of dead things here. Wonderful. I'm going to do some research on this Doyle fellow, because if he's anything like him, I might just cut my losses.
It might be dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you need an chaperone?
Are you offering help instead, yeah?
I'm not from Stanzia.
I can notice that. Yeah, I'll gladly take it. Sure would like some company.
I'm not much company, but I can help.
Then I'll be all the company you need. Huh?
As the two of you make your way off, Acrio and Asuriel.
I am going to have her in a very awkward position, and I'm going to have a splitting wedge sitting on the cart, and she's like sitting on the ground with her neck to this splitting wedge, and then I'll take the chisel, probably the longest one I had, so I don't whack her in the head, and then just try and crack it between the two wedges.
Misses it. Cracks
You
her
are
in the
gonna
head
hit her
anyway.
in the jugular.
Asuriel, you can feel this like pressure as you hear the ring of this chisel being hit. Obviously you feel the force of it, but there's also like a searing feeling that is not what you would associate with being hit.
Metal.
It's almost like it starts to burn.
Ooh.
She's gonna cry out and tell him to stop.
If you were to look at where you would attempt to split this Acrio, there's not even a scuff on it.
Alright, we've got some. Yeah, I'll hand you over to the church. I don't know what to do with you, but Avacyn always has an answer.
Avacyn. Alright. Thank you so much.
You got up early, pre-dawn, knowing that you were close. And by the time the sun is beginning to illuminate in the east,
Ow, my eyes.
the walled city and the spires of the cathedral and the signs of civilization of Corsica appear on the horizon.
We've made it to Corsica. Okay.
Which is, so you would know you have two stops in, civilization on your way to Silburn, which would be Corsica, which is, the longest trek, then you've got Gulst, and then you're pretty much there. So this is one of your last chances to resupply or do anything like that.
Where am I headed? Gulls?
You are headed to Silburn.
Is this where we were heading?
No, there's just a very large pit stop. We'll be here for a day or so. Just need to brush up on the supplies.
All right.
Maybe we can pick you up something that isn't 8 sizes too big.
That would be nice. Thank you.
Do you know the Church of Avacyn?
Does it sound familiar to her?
That's familiar. It doesn't sound. It's about as familiar as your name. You know that it exists, and you know that it is a thing, but you couldn't describe it.
I feel like I've heard of it before, but not much else.
This is probably where I'm going to drop you off. I'll give you to the Church of Avacyn. They'll take care of you. Besides that, I don't know what else to do for you.
Your pair of mules, hooves clomp over the bridge. Very simple, set up plank bridge across the moat around the city. The cart wheels kind of rattle across. You're met with a set of like militia guards and one other Cathar at the gate. very early morning. One of the guards is yawning, probably pulled an all-night shift. You would expect, but yes, the Catholic just holds up his hands for you to halt.
Okay. Raise a hand and then hold his symbol of Avacyn up, and he's like, just passing through.
He'll direct the guards to kind of give a glance over your cart. Just precaution, you understand?
Hardly hold it against you.
I appreciate that. They kind of like look everything over. Both of them kind of give like weird glances to Asuriel as she's wearing like these super baggy, men's clothes, but with her white cloak kind of wrapped around her.
This must look so sus.
But with an obvious member of the church with full Catholic regalia on, it's not something that they're inclined to question. So they open up the gates and
fucking question me.
Oh god, and anime on my side.
Meander
pull
on
through. The widest streets lead you to kind of like the shopping district, the market where you could purchase clothes. You can see on the hill the cathedral past there.
Yeah.
As the two of you move through the streets. And Amrita, as you're headed to the stables, not far off, Cillian and Lorelei coming away from the burgomaster's manor, which was also near the market. All of you start to notice a congregation of people. They've stopped, their daily tasks and moving about from one place to the next. And everybody's starting to congest in one area. You see several guards rushing in. There's a priest. There's people starting to like murmur and question what's going on. And from your elevated position, Acrio, you can see just kind of the glimpse as you pass by with the cart in a side alley where guards are trying to keep people away. There is a body with its throat torn open. That's where we're going to take a break.
Break, so we're coming back in a minute.
We'll
Don't do that to me. Oh my god.